Now, it probably looks like I spend a lot of time in the garden, but I honestly probably spend more time editing these videos than I do actually in the garden. So I thought this week I would show you a bit of our routine of what we do and when in our veggie patch here. If you're new here, I'm Nikki and I'm on a mission to grow as much food as I can on a regular suburban block. Now, on a daily basis, my gardening looks a little bit like this. A coffee in one hand and just walking around, and usually I'm done by the time I finish my coffee. I just walk around and see if there's anything ready to harvest or any bug outbreaks that I have to deal with. I don't typically go on a harvesting spree unless it's something that has finished up or I need to pull everything out ready to plant again. I'll generally just pick things as I'm about to cook or eat them. In winter, I hand water and I do it maybe once every 3 to 4 days. It just depends on if it's windy, as that tends to dry everything out. During summer, I do switch on the irrigation, usually every 2 days, unless it's a real heat wave, and then I'll do it more often. Since we've been moving things around the garden, I have been hand watering more because our water tank isn't set up yet. I also dump our kitchen waste into the compost bin when it's full in our inside caddy. I may not do it every day, just when it needs to be done, and I don't turn it when I do it at this point because I'm usually noticing that it's full when I'm cooking dinner and I'm in a rush, so I just dump it and go. So things I do on a weekly basis include cleaning out the chicken coop. The kids are supposed to do the daily poop scooping in the sand, but I do a bit more of a deeper clean, emptying the nesting boxes into the compost bin and washing off any poop accumulating on their roosts. This is when I turn my compost bins. I go around and turn every bin. So composting is probably one of our most labor-intensive things that we do, and we use these little R2D2 bins, tumbleweed bins, just because we used to have a beagle who used to dig up bays, and they're also really good for keeping out rats. We've got 3 at the moment. I probably need to get maybe 1 or 2 more to keep up with the demand. The most labour intensive part is obviously harvesting the compost because you have to pull the full bin off. If you've been turning it regularly, it should be quite loose and not too hard to do. Because we do cold composting, I then actually have to sieve it because there's still a lot of things, the bigger things, that don't break down. So I do that by using this first, shaking the compost through that. And then if I want it finer, then I use another little actual composting sieve. And sieving it gives us this consistency, which is perfect for seed raising mixes. If you want a little bit more like a mulch, that the first lot of sieving is probably enough. You don't need to go through the fine compost sieve, but that's what we do here. Now this is one that I stopped adding to last month. It's not a hot compost, it doesn't heat up, it's cold compost. So if you put anything that has diseases in it, it's going to come into your garden beds. Any seeds will probably sprout as well, so just be conscious of that if you're doing a cold composting. But basically once a week I'd use this tool. You see the plastic has ended up in there, it always does somehow. And it's probably the hardest job of gardening is doing this, but if you do it quite regularly, it becomes easier. So all I do is in the middle and then I go around the edges just to make sure it's all broken up. So this one I'll probably keep like this for another 2 months, just keep turning it, and then it'll be ready to put on the garden beds. Now this one I stopped adding to about 2 months ago. And honestly, it's kind of close to probably harvesting from next month, which will be good. But yeah, the more you do this, the easier this job is. And also, as long as your scraps have been cut finely, like if I put a plant that I've pulled from the garden in here, sometimes it's a bit harder to do this because I haven't chopped it up. Now this is the one that I'm currently adding to. So I did, when I sieved my compost the other day, I did add all of the chunky bits back into this. This kind of acts as a bit of an inoculant to get things really coming down. And in here we just add our kitchen waste and the spent nesting boxes. So this is what I mean about the stringy bits of, so that's a blue butterfly pea that I pulled out that I haven't cut up. So that's when it becomes a bit annoying to turn because it gets stuck in the little screwdriver, the corkscrew. So on a weekly basis, I like to give the garden a bit of a foliar feed, alternating between a seaweed extract, which is kind of more of a tonic, and then something every other week, something a little bit stronger. I like fish hydrolysate. This is the type that I'm using at the moment from Red Soil Organics. If I can't get my hands on this, like if I need to go to a local nursery to grab something, this one here is what I will use instead. As I said, every other week it's just a seaweed extract. And for our full garden, I only use 2 watering cans and it takes me less than about 5 minutes to do. I check in on my worms once a week. I give them some food, I give them some more bedding, just make sure that they are happy. Now the worm farm is up and running again and is producing regular castings for me. I'm going to start doing some actively aerated casting tea and integrate that as a foliar spray into this rotation. I'll probably only do that once a month. If you would like me to cover that, how I do that in more detail, please let me know in the comments and I'll make a video on that too. Now, on a monthly basis, I just go around and sprinkle some slow release organic fertilizer. Not a great deal. This one here I use is Queensland Organic Extra. Maybe for the whole garden, I'll use about 2 cups and I just sprinkle it around. So I harvest any compost if it's ready, along with some worm castings. I'll also prep the beds that I'm planning on planting on, usually sort of mid-month to plant at the beginning of the next month. This involves clearing out what's in there, letting the chickens dig for a bit and topping it up with compost and adding some trace elements into that. And then I just put my fork in and give it a little wiggle. Sometimes it's quite compacted at this stage, so it's good to sort of loosen it up. I don't actually turn it over though. Then of course it's my monthly planting. So if you already follow me, you know that each month I plant out 1 garden bed along with some seeds in the greenhouse in preparation for the next month. Beyond that, every 3 months I change my fruit fly baits and I will give my perennial basils and plants haircuts. Once a year we get a load of mulch which covers our paths, fills the chicken area. It's a big job, but it means that I'm not weeding. I don't weed at all, I cover with mulch. We did this area back in December and it is still looking really good. My weeds mostly consist of Tulsi basil, lettuce, and at the moment lots of parsley. Anyway, that's about it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Hopefully I covered everything. But thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you guys next time.